the worst shooter of the year, or so you may have been led to believe if you've been reading any online sentiment. Marathon, the newest extraction shooter from Bungie, just officially launched this week, and I played it. Not just the launch, but also the server slam last week. And I'm gonna get this out of the way early. I personally think it's okay. It's definitely not like a bad game in any way at all. But if I'm completely honest with you, it didn't blow me away. Now, that said, though, I do have my gripes with it. I'm going to get into the goods and the bads as I get through here. And I was told from friends that have been grinding it, and I've also read this sentiment online as well, that it appears to be one of those types of games that the more you play it, the more fun it actually becomes. And that does actually end up looking to be true. And it could be true. I can't speak from my own experience, so it could be true. But at the moment, I don't really have a reason to grind to that point, to take that risk, to take the gamble of investing that time to get there. But honestly, it could actually be really fun, and I can see where it could be really fun if you like those grindy kind of games, or especially grindy extraction shooter types of games with lots of PvP fights. Actually, it's kind of interesting. I read a lot of takes early on, especially from the server slam, that people were upset that there wasn't fights happening that often, and that was not my experience at all. Fights happen pretty often. Actually, we were in a fight probably within the first 2 to 3 minutes a lot of times. Unfortunately, though, playing in squads, which you end up getting 2 fill teammates, I think most of my experience was my 2 teammates instantly got blown over by a gust of wind, somehow tripped on their shoelaces and died, and then it was me left to 1v3. But the fun part about that is it actually is possible to 1v3, because the TTK, the time to kill, is actually pretty quick, especially on PvP players. That's a very important point. I'll get back there in a second. It does also, of course, depend on what type of shields you have. So everyone's still early in the game, so a lot of people have like the lower level shields. So if you have like the basic shield, or from the free kits shields, or just like the green shields, you can die kind of quickly. Of course, I'm assuming as the game progresses, you get stronger ones, it'll be longer. But I'm sure that the guns will keep up with that as well. So time to kill has actually been pretty decent. And I think it was actually fun to be able to flip those fights. There was a few times where I got into a sticky 1v2, 1v3 where people were low HP, and I was able to clean up those fights because I ran around fast enough with the kit that I was using, the 8 or the runner, where I was able to run kind of quickly, pop my ult or my Q to go quicker, and actually like rotate really fast and win those fights. I thought it was actually really fun. It was probably the most fun part of the game. And I can see where that's part of where if you play it more, you'll enjoy it more. Because as I learned rooms and I learned rotations and how the guns felt and reloading those guns and whatnot, I could feel that my skill expression was being rewarded, which is a definite good sign for a game going long term, especially if it wants to lean into that competitive aspect, which I actually cannot verify. So this is a little bit of just remembering off the top of my head. They're apparently working, I read this online, so this could be complete bullshit. They're working on some type of ranked mode for the extraction shooter, like a ranked play version of the normal game. I don't know if that's actually true or not. I apparently it's like a season 1 thing. Regardless. And that's where I could see if you play it a lot more and you grind it, it could be genuinely a lot of fun. Of course, it's still early. And in my own experience, I think without a 3-man team to play with, I just don't think it's that enjoyable to play. Now, I don't appear to be alone in that either. Now, I'm not trying to be the, but the Steam charts kind of guy here. But this is actually the launch weekend. Today is Saturday, and I'm believing it's probably getting close to its peak. If not, it's probably there because EU is still awake. As of recording this, I don't know if it's a great sign, but it's at 74K active players, which is a lot. But to give you a comparison, I play a lot of Overwatch, play a lot of Rivals. Right now, Rivals players are talking about how this is currently the worst season we have ever had, and that the game is dying. And so I decided to take a quick peek just as a comparison, and it's sitting pretty at a nice 87,000. The server slam, by the way, last week when it first launched, but again, that was free. Marathon is a $40 game. The server slam you could access for free, peaked at around 143,000 players. And to give you a reference just to fair comparisons, launch of server slam versus launch of the game, the launch of Marathon was about 87,000 players, down from the 143. Granted, you're talking free access versus paid. However, though, I think it is something that's noteworthy. Now, a lot of the likes of the game really did come down to those skill expression and gunfights, because the gunplay did feel pretty good. In a lot of ways, I can understand how they drew maybe some comparisons from Destiny, from the gunplay. It just was a lot of fun. I didn't get to use obviously every gun because I only played for about 10-ish hours, give or take, between launch and server slam, maybe closer to 10 or 15 hours. But I think my likes kind of stop about there, and I have a few, I think, major / semi-major dislikes, at least for myself personally. First one, I hope we can all agree on, or if we don't, that's okay too. The UI looks genuinely terrible. I don't know if it's just me, maybe I'm a crazy person, but I think there's multiple types of fonts that are being used as well, like in the same menus. And so they all look slightly different. And also with a game like this where the art style is very in your face and very colorful, it gets very overwhelming very quickly, which at the beginning when you first start playing, that's where you start having problems where it's hard to get into, and when you play more and more and more, and you start to understand the loot system, how much things are worth, what things you should look for, how you should fight certain things, like that's where the more enjoyment comes from. But getting into it, that barrier is very thick. And I could be nuts from all this, but trying to read everything on the menus, from the factions to the loadouts to the armory, just sort of a mess, especially when you're going in to try to get some upgrades and pick new quests, and when you like have to accept a quest but you have to like decrypt the quest, and like everything like kind of starts going pixelated. It's just, there's so much happening on the screen all the time. It's like, I understand for the game is very colorful and it's very beautiful. Actually, I'm lying a little bit there. I actually personally don't really like the art style, but I know I'm probably in the minority for that, so I'm trying to put that off to the side. But it's still kind of true for me. But like for the menus though, I feel like we really could have toned that down and just made it a little bit more transparent and a little bit more user-friendly, or at least a little friendly on the eyes. Because I felt like sometimes like clicking between different factions and whatnot, like hell, I could have burnt out some of the pixels on my monitor. It was so bright, and that's not even the brightness of the screen, just how colorful and how in your face it is. And it makes it a little bit hard to figure out and navigate where you're going. So the UI is a really big miss for me. Going into something that's a little bit more unique and maybe a bit more controversial, the AI enemies just aren't very interesting to fight. Now, you have the weaker units, which are like the normal standard guys who just pop a few headshots and break their shields, and they'll just kind of die. But as you fight the more aggressive / more difficult enemies, the big difference really is they just use an ability. Like, for example, they can go invisible or pop a shield, but they're just bullet sponges. And I think one of the big advantages / one of the cool things Arc Raiders did, where it doesn't matter if you're playing as a TDM demon looking to fight other players, or you're looking to do more PvE missions and do all that kind of stuff, is that the enemies were very interesting, right? Whether you have like the small drones, the Wasp where you just shoot the propellers and it dies, or the Hornet where it has the armored propellers in the front, so you gotta shoot the back, all the way up to like the Bombardiers where you shoot like is it Bombardiers? I forget off the top of my head, but you know what I mean. Or even the Queen, where you have to fight like these joints. You shoot the joints, or you shoot the weak spots, and each one is unique where they fight you differently. Or the Rocketeer, where you got the big floating scary guy. You can't really like just shoot its rotors off. They got to do a lot more damage to him. Those, each time you had an engagement with something, the spiders on the ground, they were unique and interesting and different. And I didn't really feel that nearly as much in Marathon. It felt like I was either fighting a bullet sponge, which I bumped into in a solo queue game. I bumped into apparently a boss enemy, didn't realize it had gold shield, and I survived because all I had to do was back away. The toughest enemy, the boss enemy, gets more aggressive and pushes you with like a cloak, like the cloaking field, like the invisibility. But if you just back away a little bit, it doesn't chase you. It doesn't hunt you the same way as like, if you played Arc Raiders, I guess is a good example. The Rocketeer, that thing will hunt your ass down. A lot of the enemies will hunt your ass down. They really don't. They just like give up. And so I think that's probably for the best, because I don't want to get chased by a bullet sponge enemy, but there isn't like a good on either way, where it's either a bullet sponge enemy that isn't going to chase you, so it's like not that bad, or you make them actually threatening where they do chase you, which I think could be more interesting, but they have to have like a more interesting play style, like more weak spots, or like, maybe they push together as a group. But in my personal experience, the AI enemies just cause issues where you just have to shoot them because like, oh shit, like I bumped into one, and then that triggers just like a team to rush you and third party you. And it's just more annoying than anything. And it's not the same way it is like, for example, for Arc Raiders, or even Tarkov is a good example. Like if I'm fighting scabs, you just one shot them in the head and you move on with your day, right? But if you go after the big boys, you go after the bosses, they're gonna have helmets, they're gonna be stronger. Like you have to commit more to them, but you get more of a reward. and it doesn't really feel like it's there for Marathon. There's just a lot of like AI enemies for like not much return. And I think fighting the AI enemies definitely made it a less enjoyable experience for me overall. And before you say skill issue, yeah, I can shoot a little. I can shoot them in the head. It's not that hard. It's just I don't want to waste 3 like mags full of LMG ammo on this one dude who's walking towards me with a shield with the 2 other guys behind him with the shields. Like, it's like, okay, now what? That said, though, solo queue, which is actually all I did, I didn't play with anyone else to get that experience of what it would be like. It's just a normal player playing, because I think almost any game can be fun with friends, and I think this game is almost designed to be played with friends and have that. And I gotta say, solo queue squads was not it. Now, I know it's the first week, but it's night and day between, do you bump into a team that's playing together, like probably playing in Discord, having a good time, or you're just bumping into a team that's just together as a bunch of solos. And I can tell you right now, I'd always have at least 1 or 2 teammates get wiped before we didn't even know what was going on. Granted, it took a little bit to learn that apparently the kill feed on the top right showed when they died to an enemy. The only reason I even figured that out right away is, well, because one of my teammates died, no mic, doesn't say a word, goes down, but we're fighting bots like in an area. And I'm like, did that guy just die to a bot? So I'm like, okay, whatever. And I walk in and I kill a bot. So I think that's the bot that killed him. And then I turn the corner where he's sitting in a corner, like my teammate's down. I turn the corner and there's a guy sitting on his body waiting for me to show up and kills me. And I'm like, hello, a little ping, maybe something be a little helpful. And that was kind of a consistent experience where I was either running away, trying to grab their, like, hide, then come back and grab their stuff. I did have one game like that. Which is the other thing, you can actually res people even after they're dead. So there's not a reason to like leave the lobby. But that's the other thing. Nobody wants to wait. So you get in, you like your teammates fall over. Shit, I'm not winning this 1v3. They're fully geared, full HP, and it's like we're in a small hallway. So there's times where I would leave and I would just go sit outside and I just wait, let them loot their guys' stuff, then res them, and like, hey, we have another shot, right? Wrong. Nobody wants to wait. So like it was a cool system and it works really well for teams. But if you're playing solo queue with a bunch of other solo queues that are playing as a group, they just don't want to wait. Like, they want to queue the next game. They just say, fuck it, I don't care. Because they're probably using a free kit anyways, because you can get tons of free kits. So then I tried some solos, like true solo matches. I wasn't sure if solos actually was solo. Turns out it is, unless you're playing Rook, and then you get dropped into like a normal raid halfway through, which I only played like 1 or 2 games of Rook. I didn't get a great gauge on Rook, but apparently he's really fun, and is actually like the Terminator, getting to fight squads 1v3, but I can't speak on that. I didn't get a really good chance to. But solo, although was actually much better. I actually enjoyed solo a lot more. However, it clearly has its downsides. I enjoyed it personally because, I'm not trying to brag, I have a little bit of experience with competitive gaming, and especially competitive shooters. I got into 1v1s and I won almost all of my 1v1s. I don't think in the whole time I've played I lost an actual 1v1. Like, every time was 2 or 3. So when I played solos, it didn't happen. However, I noticed there's a lot of noob campers. What I mean by that is the people that are like playing assassin, sitting in a corner waiting for fights to break out. They're listening to hear if AIs are fighting, or hearing 2 players fighting, which wasn't very common. And actually, very interestingly, I extracted. And so when you extract, there's about a 20 to 30 second timer where like they put you to someone else randomly on the map. And so I extracted near Harvester, and there was a guy on the other side of the wall, like where the cut through is, and he's crouched in the corner in the dark, and he's like walking back and forth like, along the wall, and I'm like, there's no way this guy's just actually sitting there doing nothing. And so then he goes all the way into a corner and he stops for like 4 or 5 seconds, like looking around in the corner, and I'm like, I want to watch the whole POV. I wish I could. Obviously I get pulled out, but then like I see him like peek his head out, like look around the corner, see if somebody's there, like into the open field, by the way, not inside the court, like inside the cut through, like the open field area, like where there's like a supply drop there. And then he goes back to his corner. And I'm like, wow, that guy's just straight up corner camping in a dark corner with his assassin character, so he can go invisible, just looking to get a drop on some guy walking by. And I'm like, man, that is fucking boring. I get it. There's a lot of extraction campers. It wasn't even an extraction, but like, I get it. That's like the nature of extraction shooters. But because of the extra abilities of being able to go cloak and whatnot, I just see that being like not that fun long term. And playing with a squad all together, I think, will be the superior way to play all day long. Part of me actually wonders about this whole marathon thing is, Do you think this game would be considered a success or a failure for Bungie? For those who don't know, Destiny 2, their flagship game, is right now, and I guess for the best way to say, not doing too hot. And many have speculated on this, that this marathon, or maybe a Destiny 3 if they're lucky, will be the last chances for Bungie as a studio. And it pains me to say this, it really does, but Bungie did an amazing job on their marketing campaign. I've seen it everywhere for months, or even close to years now, back even before the art debacle, which they appeared to have solved. And I believe that the person who the art was stolen from is actually now mentioned in the credits as an art consultant. So it seems that they came to some sort of agreement there as well. But they did a great job on the marketing. They really, really, really fucking did. I feel like I saw it everywhere. I've seen everyone kind of at least knows it exists. That said, though, I worry that it won't be enough of a hit for them. And the investors who will probably come knocking soon want to know how well they did. They're going to want to know how was the launch week, how was the launch weekend, how many sales, how many players. Granted, I think this game will last a long time. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. But I don't see this game being anything close to a failure. I personally think it's actually an okay game, and it has the potential to have a strong, dedicated base that genuinely does love it, and it's good. But in the eyes of AAA studio investors and boards of directors and whatnot, a game with less than 100,000 players from a AAA, quadruple A could even say, players on its launch weekend could be considered a disappointment. Now, granted, I know that doesn't include console, it's obviously Steam, but there's only so many numbers that we can get publicly, and console numbers are not easily available publicly, and it's from third-party websites, and they're not always that accurate, so we go by what we have for info and for data, but also typically, on average, statistically, a lot of bullshit I just said. But there's a correlation where, like, if there's a lot of players on Steam, there's probably a lot of players on console. Yada, yada, yada. Unless over time, like, eventually the console base becomes huge or it dies off. But, like, typically when it launches, they're pretty close. And of course, it doesn't include consoles, like I said, but I'm sure they had goals for players, for sales. And I wonder if they even hit them. Time will only tell. And overall, I think the game is okay. And like I said, it could even be good with time. And the biggest winners of this genuinely are extraction shooter players. The players who enjoy it, the fans who enjoy Tarkov and Arc Raiders. And actually, you know what's funny is, I was going to say is, if you're an Arc Raiders player or even Tarkov, but actually, now that I think about it, did Tarkov even react when Arc Raiders came out? I feel like I didn't see anything from them. I don't know. For those who don't know, I used to play Tarkov a lot. I was actually a big Tarkov guy for about a year. Off-stream game, though. I used to play with some friends of mine. Not my solo queue game. I did not enjoy solo of that game, but I loved playing with friends in it. But I don't think they even reacted when Arc Raiders came out. So maybe not Tarkov. They might not give a shit. But competition is always good. Genuinely, competition is always good. And even if Marathon ends up being a game that's not your cup of tea, it could be someone else's. And competition always breeds innovation. Something that all of us as players and gamers really do benefit from. So if you're one of those people out there who likes extraction shooters and you maybe tried Marathon, or you're thinking about trying it, and maybe you tried it and you didn't like it, or you're like, nah, I don't want to play that game, that's okay. But you shouldn't wish for its downfall either. You should actually hope that it does well, because as Marathon hopefully grows with time and makes updates and comes through with stuff, that actually pushes other extraction shooters to do the same thing. I can speak from that, specifically from hero shooters. We had Overwatch for years, and quite frankly, Overwatch kind of sucked. Like, it just didn't give a shit. It had no competitor. There was multiple people that tried, and it failed. And Rivals came along, and they really lit a fire under them. And now they're actually legitimately competing. Those two are legitimately competing with each other today. Granted, I understand if you don't like Marathon. I understand if you're maybe a Destiny player and you're a little upset with Bungie. But I think if you have thought about giving Marathon a try, it doesn't hurt, especially on PC. You can always try it for like an hour or two and then refund it on Steam if you really don't like it. But I think you should give it a shot if you don't like it. Form your own opinion and go from there, because competition is always good. Even though Marathon might not be a game totally for me long term, I thought it was an okay game. I thought the gunplay was there. I thought the bones were there. We'll see what happens over time. Time will only tell. But overall, though, have fun if you're playing Marathon. And if you're not, maybe you're like me, you didn't really enjoy it as much, I think that's totally valid too. But either way though, at the end of the day, with more competition, the people who benefit is us.